بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Continuing from where we had left off, boys please, boys let's settle down. Jazakumullah khair. So continuing our review from the from 2 weeks ago, sorry. Specifically the portion about asking questions about matters which Allah Azza wa Jal purposely stayed silent about. So we mentioned in the hadith that you shouldn't ask about matters that Allah has not specified. So let's say you have a question about prayer. Based on the hadith, should you be asking that question or no? And why or why not? In the back, yes? Yeah?
Because wait, no, you can only ask a question if it affects time.
So yeah, okay, so yeah, and we're assuming that this is a real question about prayer, right? So things like praying, things like fasting, things like anything to do with worshiping Allah, things that will affect your day-to-day lives, okay? Because everybody, as a Muslim, they're expected to know how to pray. You're expected to know, now Ramadan is coming up, you're expected to know how to fast Ramadan. You're expected to know these things. These are the bare minimum. So if you don't know, you're expected to ask. So with that note, if you have questions about anything to do with your day-to-day worship, please make sure you're asking the questions so that you know, so that you get your questions answered. What is the general ruling on fasting while pregnant or breastfeeding? Yes. Yeah. Exactly, right? So it depends on the person, right? So if it doesn't cause them, it doesn't cause a risk to their health or the risk of the health of the baby, then they should still continue to fast. Otherwise, if they're worried for themselves or for their child, then they can not fast. A woman entered her menses 5 minutes after Maghrib had entered. Is the fast for that day accepted? In the back? No? Why not? I'm sorry? So this is after Maghrib has entered. So it is accepted, alhamdulillah. Okay. Because for this. But if you're correct, by the way, had it been before Maghrib, even if it's by 5 minutes, then the answer is no. Okay? But because we said Maghrib had already entered, okay, then this is not a problem. How was the Prophet ﷺ, what was his state at the end of the Battle of Uhud? Muhammad?
Like continuously bleeding out of his face.
Yeah, so he was bloodied, he was injured, he was weak, he even needed help moving around. Grab one and go, yalla, quickly. No discussions, khalas. At the end of the Battle of Uhud, why did the Rasul ﷺ initially tell the Muslims not to respond to Abu Sufyan, but then later on he told them start responding? Like, what was the difference? Yes? Boys in the back? Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Excellent. Very good. So it's a very important lesson for us. So when the questions of of Abu Sufyan were like, is the Rasul ﷺ alive? Is Abu Bakr alive? Is Umar alive? The Rasul ﷺ said, don't answer. Because it's just about different individuals. Who cares? But as soon as he started saying things like, praise be to Hubal, we have a Uzzah, things like this directly goes against the message of Islam, goes against La ilaha illallah, and this is an insult to Allah, astaghfirullah, right? This is not allowed. So, as Muslims, we have a duty to respond whenever the honor of Allah or Islam or even the Rasul, any of this is being degraded. Okay, so let's continue on to the next surah, which will be a short surah, Surah Al-Asr. Surah Al-Asr, as we had previously mentioned, it is one of the three shortest surahs in the Quran. It is tied with two other surahs with 3 verses in total. We've discussed already the 2 other surahs. They are which surahs? Huh? Al-Nasr and Al-Kawthar. Al-Nasr, Al-Kawthar. Very good. All, both of them 3 verses each. Surah Al-Asr is also 3 verses. Now, unlike some of the other surahs, and you will see this pattern with a lot of surahs in the Quran, we previously mentioned this as well, there isn't really a reason or a specific story that happened that caused a particular surah to be revealed. Okay, meaning there is no really a backstory behind Surah Al-Asr that does not exist. However, we do know a couple of things about the status of Surah Al-Asr. Even though it's such a short surah, 2 lines only, one of the easiest surahs. We are told by Abu Madin al-Darimi, he says, when 2 of the Sahaba of the Rasul ﷺ would meet, they would not leave each other until they have read Surah Al-Asr. And then they would say salam and then they would leave. Meaning any kind of conversation, casual conversation they have, they might be talking about like, I don't know, the Fortnite match they had in the morning or something like this, right? They just start having casual conversation and they would not end the conversation until they bring up Surah Al-Asr and talk about it. And that is enough to tell us how important the message of Surah Al-Asr is. That is worth to be brought up in every single conversation in our lives. And we know also one of the greatest scholars ever, Al-Imam Al-Shafi'i rahimahullah. Al-Imam Al-Shafi'i, he says, if people just pondered over this one surah, if people were to reflect and to ponder over just the Surah Al-Asr, it would be enough for them. Meaning, Imam Al-Shafi'i is basically saying, out of the whole Quran, if only Surah Al-Asr basically were to be revealed, and we didn't have anything else in the Quran, that would have been enough for you. How come? It's the shortest surah in the Quran, it's 3 verses only, it's barely 2 lines. Well, let's take a look at Surah Al-Asr. What does it contain? So Allah Azza wa Jal begins, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Wal-Asr. Wal-Asr. Now, the wow here is the wow that is used to indicate that an oath is being sworn. Okay? So for example, when you want to swear, you say, Wallahi, right? Wallah, I did it. Wallah, I didn't do it. Right? You say Wallah, Wallah, Wallah all the time. Right? Well, when you say Wallah, you're saying wa. This wa indicates that you're swearing. Swearing by what? When you say Wallah, you're saying, I swear by Allah. Okay? So this is a similar structure here, except it's not saying Wallah, it's saying Wal-Asr. I swear by the passage of time, the passing of time. Al-Asr, here according to most scholars of Tafsir, they tell us Al-Asr here means time. Now how come Allah Azza wa Jal is swearing by time? So first and foremost, we need to understand and clarify. As Muslims, boys, we are only allowed to swear by Allah. Okay? You're only allowed to say Wallah. Okay? Like if I don't know, you broke your mom's favorite plate. Okay? And your mom goes and it was you. And then but your mom goes to you, I don't know, your sibling, and says to your sibling that you're the one who broke it. And so your sibling says, no, Wallahi, I didn't do it. Right? It doesn't say, Wal Asri, I didn't do it. Right? That is haram. That is not allowed to do. You're only allowed as a Muslim to swear by Allah. Okay? And swearing by anything other than Allah is considered to be a major sin. Okay? And in some cases, if a person intends to honor what they're swearing by, this can even take them out of Islam. So it's a big deal. When you're swearing, swearing an oath, this is a very, very big deal. And this is why you should try not to use it casually in your day-to-day conversations. We've made it such a habit that, oh, Wallah, this morning I went to school. Wallah, bro, I did this. Wallah, bro, this and that. Wallah, man, I ate such good food. Wallah, bro, Wallah. But why are you swearing by Allah every single time in every sentence that you talk? That you're talking with your friends, right? So subhanAllah, we should try to avoid this kind of habit. When it comes to Allah Azza wa Jal Himself, he can swear by whatever he wants. So you will find in the Quran, for example, verses like Wal-Asr, like for example, وَالشَّمْسِ وَضُحَاهَا وَالْقَمَرِ, okay? وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَى, okay? وَالسَّمَاءِ ذَاتِ الرَّجْعِ وَالْأَرْضِ ذَاتِ الصَّدْعِ. What do all these verses that start with wa mean? They're all Allah verses where Allah Azza wa Jalla is swearing by something. And the scholars teach us that Allah does not just pick something random to swear by. Whenever Allah swears by something, it's meant to show you how important that thing is that He's swearing by. So in this case, we encounter wal-asr, when Allah Azza wa Jalla is swearing by the passage of time, the blessing of time, subhanAllah. We can have a whole lecture, we can have 2 hours talking today just about this one verse, just about the concept of time. Because time is something that all of us, we don't think much about. Especially you guys, since you're really, really young and you have a lot of energy, and you see someone perhaps who's 60, 70, 80 years old, and you're like, oh, that's a long time from now. I'm still a young boy now. I have my life ahead of me. That's the delusion that time gives you. Time is the one and only thing, that once it is gone, you will never ever get it again. Think about it. The seconds that are passing right now, when they're passing, you will, no matter what you do, no matter how many millions or billions of dollars you pay, you will never ever get them back. It's something so precious, more precious than any gold, more precious than any money, than anything. Like imagine you had gold with you in your house. How would you treat that gold? Gold is really expensive, right? You're worried about, your wealth. How would you put your gold? Would you just put it out there in the street? What would you do with your gold? You guys don't know what to do if you had gold? Hmm? Yeah? What would you do? Say it.
I test if it's true, but
Yeah, just be quiet. You're not allowed to talk. Anyone else other than this guy? Yes?
I'll take care of it.
Take care of it. Thank you. You would take care of it. You would hide it. You would lock it up, right? You see it sometimes in the cartoons or in the movies, right? This rich multi-billionaire, he has all of his crazy dollars and gold in this big, thick vault in the bank, which is locked with 10 million different locks, right? Because they're so worried about someone taking their money. And what Allah here is trying to tell us, your time is more important and more valuable and more expensive than all of that money. Because money comes and goes. You can spend $10 today and then earn it a while later. You can get a job or something and it comes back. Sometimes you lose money, sometimes you make money. Time? No. Once you spend it, khalas, it's gone. You will never ever get it back. Yet the Rasul tells us, you would think that if someone knew this, they would take care of their time so well. But the Rasul tells us in a hadith that there are 2 blessings which are extremely, extremely undervalued. Many people, they don't care about them. They neglect them. And he says it's 2 things. It's good health and your free time. Good health and free time. You don't appreciate your good health until you are sick or until you no longer have the health that you had. And the same thing with your free time. Like I said, you guys are young right now, but I promise you a time will come where you look back at your life and you're like, what the heck was I doing in my life? Was I really wasting it with YouTube and Fortnite and playing this and wasting time here and doing that? Like, what was I doing? And I encourage you, by the way, maybe you can volunteer somewhere where you get to speak with people in senior homes. It will change your life. Or people in, this is perhaps for those who have a stronger heart, people in the hospital who have chronic disease that they know they will not going to recover from. Or they know that their death is coming soon. Sit with them and listen what they have to say. And it doesn't have to be a Muslim, but it could be a non-Muslim, because it's the same old story. It's the same idea. They tell you, what did I do in my life? I wish I had done this. I wish I had done that. If I knew that this is how I was going to end up, I wouldn't have spent my life doing this. I would not have wasted my life with this. I would have not have done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You will find a lot of these people, all they have is regret, regret, regret. What's the source of that regret? It's because they never appreciated or used their time well. They wasted it all. They took it for granted. They thought just because we're young and we're full of energy that we're khalas, I feel like I'm going to live forever. Yeah, these people are getting sick. Not me. I'm full of energy. I'll recover in less than a day and I'll be jumping on the bed by tomorrow. So this is something you really, really need to pay attention to. How is every second in your day spent? Can you truly say that you are proud of the way that you're spending your time? Okay? Where you're just looking at a screen, staring at a screen for hours and hours and hours. Such that if I had a camera in your room and I'm looking at you, you just look like a paralyzed person. You just look like someone doing this the whole time. For hours and hours and hours. You're just frozen in your place, looking at something, looking at pixels in your screen, things that are not even real, and then closing it and then wasting your time doing something else. Is that really all your life is, man? Well, we have to think very, very carefully because that is exactly what Allah is trying to bring our attention here in Surah Al-Asr. Wal-Asr. Innal insana lafi khusr. Whenever you see Allah Azza wa Jal giving an oath in the Quran, it means, always by the way, it always means Allah is about to say something really, really, really important. Okay? So it's like whenever Allah is saying wal asr or wal shamsi wa duhaha or wal layli idha yaghsha, Allah Azza wa Jal is telling you, hey you, stop whatever you're doing and pay attention because something really, really, really important is about to be said. You find this all over the Quran. Um, for example, وَالطُّورِ وَكِتَابٍ مَسْطُورٍ, you will find a set of oaths, and then you will find at the end of the oath, Allah Azza wa Jalla says, إِنَّ عَذَابَ رَبِّكَ لَوَاقِعٌ, that the punishment of your Lord is coming. It's real. It's not fake. Allah is bringing your attention to that. So what is it that Allah Azza wa Jalla is bringing my attention to here? He says, إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ. Inna means surely. Surely, inna. Al-insana, mankind. Lafi, definitely, surely. How many times is Allah saying surely? Inna, once. La, again, twice. Surely, definitely, insan, mankind is what? Lafi khusr, is in loss. This is basically as if to pretend, you're walking in your first day of school and you walk into your classroom. You've never seen the teacher before. You're in a class of new students. And as soon as the teacher walks in and he says, you guys, all of you failed. That is what exactly Allah is saying. And that should be like, what did I do? Why am I failing? What did I even do? I barely just got started. What? The semester just started. I just walked into the classroom. Why am I failing? So Allah's giving you attention. Allah is telling you, pay attention. By default, everybody is a loser. Everybody's going to lose, both in this world and in the hereafter. But how come, Allah? I don't want to lose. Why am I in loss? I don't want to be in loss. So he starts the next verse with illa. And whenever you see illa in the Quran, pay close attention because Allah is giving you an exception. So Allah here is saying everybody is going to lose in this world and the hereafter except. So now He's going to tell you who out of all of the humanity will not be in complete loss. And He mentions 4 things. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. 4 really important points. Alhamdulillah, almost everybody here in this room, you already have that memorized, right? A lot of us, we have Surah Al-Asr memorized, so you already have that memorized. So you have no excuse to say that, oh, I didn't know. So what does it mean? Illa, except alladhina, those who amanu, first of all, believe. وَعَمِلُوا, and they do الصالحات. الصالحات are the righteous deeds. So that's number two. وَتَوَاصَوْا, and they enjoin each other. Enjoin, or like they push each other, they advise each other. بِالْحَقِّ, to the truth. That's number three. وَتَوَاصَوْا, and they advise each other, enjoin each other. بِالصَّبْرِ, to being patient. These are the 4 points that are being mentioned here. So, what do we extract from this verse? The only people out of all of humanity from start to the end that will not be in complete loss are people who have all of these 4 qualities. Not just one. It's not enough to have just one or two or three. All 4 of them are required. Okay? Because if Allah had said أو, okay, إلا الذين آمنوا أو عملوا الصالحات أو تواصوا, it means or. If they believe, or if they do good deeds, or if they do this, or they do that. But Allah is saying and. So all of these must be met. So what are they? آمنوا, first of all. To have the correct belief in Allah Azza wa Jal. And that involves believing in whatever Allah Azza wa Jal has sent, meaning through His prophets and the books that He revealed, the verses of the Quran, the hadith of the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, whatever He tells us about the angels, whatever He tells us about the Day of Judgment, whatever He tells us about Jannah and Jahannam, or about the grave, or anything along these lines. This is the belief that a person can have. And this is why, again, we say it a lot, that just because someone is a good non-Muslim who does a lot of good deeds, they're not an exception. Why? Because they're not believers. They don't have the correct belief of La ilaha illallah. Even if they believe in Allah, but they associate partners with Allah, then they are not believers in Allah. Because it does not fit into La ilaha illallah. So only those who have the correct understanding of La ilaha illallah fall in وَإِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. That's number 1. وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, and they perform good deeds. And of course, we defined this before. A good deed has 2 conditions. It has to be done sincerely for the sake of Allah, and it must be something that is taken from the Quran or the Sunnah. You cannot make something up and say that, oh, I'm going to start rolling on the floor and I'm going to call this is how I worship Allah. I feel really close to Allah when I start rolling on the floor. Rolling on the floor, roll outside, habibi. What do you mean? It doesn't work that way. You have to follow Quran and Sunnah. The last 2 points are very interesting. Because you would think that someone who believes and does good deeds, khalas, alhamdulillah, they're good. Allah Azza wa Jalla is saying, nah. No. You're wrong. There's still more to come. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ. وَتَوَاصَوْا, it's not a singular. It's not just you. It means there's a group of people with you. And Allah is saying that this kind of person is advising other people to stick to the truth. They're teaching other people what is the truth. They see people doing something wrong, they advise them to do something that is right. They see someone who's not praying correctly, they teach them how to pray correctly. They see their Muslim friend doing something that is haram, they advise them not to fall into haram. You see, again, this is really important. The essence of Islam is not just an individual thing. Just because you're praying your 5 daily prayers and you're performing zakah and hajj and Ramadan, you're part of a Muslim ummah. If you're part, we're all in this together, whether you like it or not. Therefore, you also have a duty. Okay? It's not just my job. It's not just the job of the sheikh or the imam or the person who has knowledge. It's the job of every single believer. You have a duty to deliver and to advise the people around you. Okay? Whether they are your friends, whether they're strangers, whether you can, maybe when you grow up and you get some more knowledge and start teaching it to other people, you find your way to do this, but you have a role to play in terms of giving advice or motivating other people to do that what is correct and leave that which is wrong. But that is also not it. There's also وَتَوَاصَوْا. So the word tawasaw is mentioned twice, and it has to do with advising other people. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. And they advise other people to remain patient. Patient with what? Patient with everything. Because sometimes, for example, worshipping Allah can feel annoying sometimes. Astaghfirullah, right? Sometimes waking up for Fajr in the early morning, when it's freezing temperatures outside and you feel really, really warm in your blanket, it can feel miserable, like just leave me alone, man. But no, وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. No, no, no. You advise them, you tell them, no, you have to get up. You have to do it. I know it's tough, but Allah will reward you. You remind them to be patient. You remind them of the rewards of patience. In terms of worshipping Allah, in terms of refraining from the haram, sometimes haram might look really, really appealing. Haram might be something that everybody out there is doing. But you remind them, look man, do you want to enjoy this temporary haram or do you want a permanent Jannah? And you remind them of the reward, you remind them to be patient. Or for example, if they're going through a tough time in their life, they're struggling with their family, they're struggling with their money, they're struggling whatever, in what way, you tell them that this is, you remind them to be patient, that this is something that comes down from Allah. Allah is the one in control. Allah is the one who put you through this, then surely Allah is going to be taking you out of this difficulty as well. So you have a duty to also be patient and remind others to be patient as well. So this is Surah Al-Asr. Very profound surah. It's very short, but it has everything. It has the formula, the equation that we need for success in this world and in the hereafter. Does someone has like a toy or something? Okay, whatever. So let's quickly conclude this. What are the lessons and the teachings that we learn from Surah Al-Asr? First and foremost, we mentioned this already. Time is a precious blessing. And there's a saying in Arabic, by the way, that time is like a sword. Time is like a sword. If you do not cut it, it shall cut you. If you do not cut it, then time, you know how sometimes people use this phrase, you ask them, hey, what are you doing? Oh, I'm just bored, I'm just killing some time. They say this phrase, I'm killing some time. You're not killing some time, Habibi. Time is killing you. That's what's happening. Time is a precious blessing. And those who do not take care of the blessing of time, because remember, a person shall be questioned by Allah about the life that they have spent, which means the time that they have spent. So if you do not spend your time properly, that shall be the biggest and greatest source of regret on the day of judgment. On the moment of death, in the moment of death, the one thing that the disbeliever will wish for is, oh Allah, delay us. Give us more time, just a little bit more time. Give us more time and we will show you how we can be true believers. But Allah said, we gave you enough time. Haven't we given you enough time? We've given you enough time. And we didn't just give you an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours. You had a whole lifetime, 50, 60, 70 years, more or less. You had plenty of time. You have no excuses. No matter how young you are, you have no excuse for wasting your time. And also, we learn from the surah, إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ. Everybody on earth, in mankind, is at loss unless a person meets these 4 categories. And it's not that they met these 4 categories just at one point in their life. Ramadan is right now coming up. And a lot of people will start to pick up their slack, right? They'll start picking up the Quran, start worshipping Allah more. So you might meet these 4 conditions in Ramadan. But you see, these 4 conditions don't just apply in Ramadan. They apply for your whole life. And if these 4 conditions don't exist in the moment of your death, you're in trouble, my friend. So, adhering and sticking to these 4 conditions, and also, إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. We learn from this, if you want to be successful, that can only be achieved if you also care about the success of other people. Yes, we are all trying to get to Jannah. Why don't we all try to get to Jannah together? It's not about me trying, there's nothing wrong with competing with one another, competing with hasanat, competing who can memorize more Quran, competing who can do more good deeds. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to push this person away from me just because I want to become better than this person. No. A Muslim does not push other Muslims away. Rather, they motivate other Muslims to do more good, because that is what success is all about. And our goal, my goal, okay, and your goal should also be the same. My goal is not that, I'm giving this lecture so Allah can be happy with me so I can enter Jannah by myself and, I don't care about you guys. No. My goal, inshallah, one day we'll all be sitting like this together in Jannah. In Jannah, together, all of us. And we'll be talking, guys, remember Islam 101 back in the good old days in Southwest Masjid basement? Remember when this guy was giving us a hard time? Remember this, and that, right? So that's the goal. We all want to succeed together in this. So every single one of you, you have a duty in that regard. Any questions? Okay. حديث which I shared with you عن أبي يعلى شداد بن أوس رضي الله عنه عن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال إن الله كتب الإحسان على كل شيء. Allah, so Shaddad ibn Aus, he was one of the greatest scholars of the Ummah. He says in this hadith, verily Allah has prescribed ihsan or excellence in all things. Then he says, فَإِذَا قَتَلْتُمْ فَأَحْسِنُوا الْقِتْلَةَ وَإِذَا ذَبَحْتُمْ فَأَحْسِنُوا الذِّبْحَةَ وَلْيُحِدَّ أَحَدُكُمْ شَفْرَتَهُ وَلْيُرِحْ ذَبِيحَتَهُ. So then he says, which might seem very random, but we'll explain like what does excellence have to do with slaughtering and whatnot. So he says, so if you kill, then kill well. If you slaughter, then slaughter well. And let each one of you sharpen his blade, and let him spare suffering to the animal that he slaughters. Now, I had gone through what some of you guys had written for this hadith because I'm always curious. And this is usually the case whenever I give this hadith. A lot of people miss the point. And they think that this is the hadith talking about, mercy to the animals, and which is correct. One aspect of it is mercy to the animals, but there is a main point that is being mentioned here. The whole hadith can be summarized by this first sentence. إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَتَبَ الْإِحْسَانَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. Allah has prescribed excellence in everything. That is the prime. Like if the hadith were to end there, that would have been enough for us. That is the main and the primary message of the hadith. So, what exactly is ihsan in everything? And why would the Rasul say this? So, ihsan, the translation is excellence. But excellence in terms of, it's not just excellent in being like, oh, you're doing something really good. Excellent, it means like there is no way you can do any better. That is what it means, excellence. Excellence means you're literally putting 100% in, and you physically cannot do any better than you're currently doing. That is what is called ihsan. But ihsan to what? Ihsan in everything. Everything. Whether it is with other people, whether it is with Allah Azza wa Jal, whether it is to the Muslims or the non-Muslims, whether it is people that you like or the people that you don't like, whether it is to a criminal or whether it is to an innocent person, whether it is to an animal, ihsan towards everything. Now, first and foremost, ihsan to Allah Azza wa Jal, because that is the most important thing. How does one show ihsan to Allah Azza wa Jal? We learned in a different hadith that I believe we covered way back in the past. The Rasul he defined it. And he says, Ihsan to Allah, boys, أن تعبد الله كأنك تراه. To worship Allah as if you can see Allah. Because if you cannot see Allah, Allah can see you. Meaning, imagine, for example, imagine right now you guys who are smacking each other and whispering this and that. Imagine if your mom was sitting next to you right now. Would you dare do that in front of your mom? Huh? You'd probably be too scared. Okay? Too much of a coward to do that in front of your mom. You only do that in front of me, huh? Don't give me a headache and trouble. But anyways, the point here is you're scared that your mom is gonna, punish you or say, lecture you when you get back home if you act in a certain way. What about Allah? You're worried about your mom seeing you or your dad seeing you. When you're sitting all alone at home and maybe you're looking at something that you're not supposed to see, or maybe you're at school and you're hanging out with certain people that you're not supposed to be with, or you're interacting with the opposite gender in an inappropriate manner, or doing something along these lines, doing something you shouldn't be doing. And at that moment, you have that fear. Remember that sin, the definition of sin, the signs of a sin. A sign of a sin is that you don't feel comfortable. You don't want anyone to see you. So you're trying to hide from your parents. You try to hide from the people who usually come to the masjid because, you don't want people to say that in the masjid that, oh, I saw this person doing this kind of thing. So you try to hide. How are you going to hide from Allah? Huh? How are you going to hide if Allah is watching you 24/7 and He's listening to you 24/7? Only a person who has reached ihsan with Allah can reach that level. That at every single moment in his life, he has that worry. If Allah, if I were, if Allah were right here, if I were to able to see Allah, would I do whatever I'm doing right now? And this person recognizes, like, look, I will never be able to see Allah in my life, but Allah is constantly seeing me for as long as I'm alive. This is what it means to have ihsan with Allah Azza wa Jal. But ihsan is not only to Allah, ihsan, again, ala kulli shay, for everything. So Allah Azza wa Jal also tells us in the Quran, وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. You're expected to have ihsan with your parents. How do you have ihsan with your parents? And I know some of you guys are rolling your eyes right now, and you're like, oh my God, here we go again. I get lectured at home, and I have to get lectured in the masjid again. What the heck is going on? Well, sorry, but I'm not really sorry. Okay, this is something that Allah Azza wa Jalla says in the Quran. We need to understand our duties as a Muslim. Okay, so being excellent to your parents. And actually, before I mention this point, because I know sometimes when it comes to talking about parents and the ihsan to the parents, we get sometimes a little bit frustrated. And the reminder that I want to give all of us here and myself, you're not being excellent to your parents to please your parents. That should not be your ultimate goal. The reason you're pleasing your parents is because you want to please Allah Azza wa Jalla. If you have that in mind, wallahi, all these issues that you have with your parents, all these fights that you have and little problems and issues, they will all disappear. Because all of a sudden you don't care, you're not doing it for the sake of a person. Rather, you're doing it for the sake of Allah. That, Ya Allah, I know sometimes my parents speak to me that way, but you know what? You told me, Allah, that you want me to be excellent with my parents. So I'll do it for you, Ya Allah. I'll suck it up. I won't talk back to my parents. I won't yell at them. I won't disrespect them. Not because it's mom and dad. It's because of you, Allah. If you make that your relationship with mom and dad, it changes everything. Changes everything. It will make you the best child ever. It will make you the golden child in the eyes of your parents. And that's exactly what Allah wants. Excellence to your parents. Obeying your parents. It's a big deal in Islam. After Allah Azza wa Jal orders you to worship Allah, He says, be excellent to your parents. Another place in the Quran, don't even say uff to them. وَلَا تَقُلْ لَهُمَا uff. What is uff? Uff, according to the scholars, is like, there's no real translation to the word uff. It's like the minimum sign of disagreement that you have. Like, so I don't know, your parent comes to you and he's like, yeah, Muhammad, go throw away the garbage. You're just like, okay. That really, really small sign, Allah Azza wa Jalla says, don't do that sign. That's how strict it is. That's how important it is in the sight of Allah Azza wa Jalla. And if you're doing that, then you're not doing ihsan to your parents. So it's difficult, huh? So ihsan to your parents, obeying your parents, honoring your parents, making dua for your parents, whether they're alive or whether they have already passed away, having the best form of respect, the highest form of respect to your parents. And subhanAllah, how sad it is that we see nowadays, especially, so many people that show more love and respect to their friends more than they show their own parents. This is not a cool thing, my friend. This is not cool. It doesn't make you cool. It makes you disobedient. It makes you someone who is not showing ihsan to mom and dad. And Allah shall question you about that on the Day of Judgment. And by the way, guess what? Sometimes I feel like, oh, what I'm doing, I'm better than mom and dad. Whatever you do in your life, you will never reach 0.0001% of what mom and dad have done for you. Don't you ever think in your life that you're going to become better than your parents. Because there's nothing that you can do to repay back what your parents
have done for you throughout your life. That is how high the honor of a parent is in Islam. And you're expected to show ihsan to them in this manner. Ihsan also to your relatives, upholding the ties of kinship, being kind to them, visiting them, asking about them, not harming them, not cutting them off. I know sometimes, again, nobody's family is ideal. Sometimes you don't get along with your relatives. Sometimes you just have that one auntie or that one uncle that every time you talk to, they just give you a lot of headache, or they give your parents headache, or something like this. Everybody has that, and that's why it's a test. Okay, so don't think that, oh, if my family is just a weird family who everybody just doesn't get along. Maybe everybody's family is like that. Everybody has a problem in their family. Don't think that you're the special case. That's how Shaitan tries to get you. He's like, oh, you're a special case, people. No, no, you're special. You have a special situation with your parents. Your parents are just are different kind. Everybody has normal parents, but your parents are not normal. No, but everybody has those kinds of parents. Everybody. And this is something that you will never understand until you become a parent yourself. Boys, please. Yeah. Um, so excellence to your relatives. Okay, so calling your uncles and aunties, especially on durations of Eid and whatnot. Okay, connecting with them, not cutting them off. Boys, I'm about to kick someone else. Okay, being showing ihsan to the poor people. Okay, not looking down upon them by having a portion of your wealth dedicated for them as well. Give it being given to give it to the poor, to give them food to eat, to give them clothing to wear. Showing excellence to people, whether they are Muslims or non-Muslims, whether they are good Muslims or bad Muslims, to be gentle with them, to be kind with them, to treat them with the best of manners. How do you think? How do you think, boys? Can you please leave the room? Do me a favor, please. You've cost so much. Thank you. Um, how do you think someone like the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was able to gather so many followers? How do you think when he was sitting in a society of Jahiliyyah, when there was no Islam, and people were mocking him, making fun of him, how did he change society as it is? It's mainly through his manners. And as this is why Allah Azza wa Jalla says about the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in Surah Al-Qalam, Allah Azza wa Jalla says, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. You have a great character. You have the greatest character. You have the best of manners. It's your manners and characters and the way that you treat others. This is what leaves a mark upon them. And this is what it means to have ihsan to other people. Ihsan is also not just to human beings. It is also to animals as well. To animals, to plants, to any kind of living being. By feeding the animals, not harming the animals, taking care of these animals. And even when it comes to even the hadith, it mentions example, slaughtering the animal. There is mercy even when it comes to slaughtering, and we'll talk about that in a second. Ihsan also comes in your workplace, or at school, or when you are volunteering somewhere. By how? How do you show ihsan at school? By giving my full effort. I giving all my energy and all my effort to make sure that I do well, and that I'm not late, okay, that I do things on time, that I don't cheat or try to lie or scam or get my way out of certain situation. This is what it means to have ihsan in these scenarios. In general, okay, in general, in every single situation in your life, you should always have this question in your head. How can I show the most excellent attitude in the situation I'm in? Maybe it means right now here in the lecture. How can I have ihsan with you guys? And you guys should have also the question, how can I have ihsan with the person that is next to me? How can I have ihsan with a teacher? How can I have ihsan when I go home with my parents? How can I have ihsan with my friend if I see them this weekend? This question of ihsan should always be on your head in every single situation, and try to be the best version of yourself. Now, this portion of the hadith that talks about, if you kill well, you slaughter well, this is an example of ihsan that the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was giving us. Just like I just gave you so many different examples of ihsan, the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam also gave you an example of ihsan. So he says ihsan is in everything. And he says, let me give you an example. And he says, even when you kill, you do it with ihsan. Even when you slaughter with ihsan. Now, what does this mean? when it says when you kill, kill well. Now, obviously, there are certain crimes that when you commit, there's a punishment for that. Okay, everybody knows that. If you're living in Canada, if you go and steal and you're caught by the police, there's a punishment. If you, you may not protect us, but like someone goes and kills someone else, even in Canada, there's going to be a punishment. So the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is saying, even if a criminal is standing in front of you, even if the worst criminal today in the world is standing in front of you, don't give him any more than his punishment. Meaning, خلاص, that you give him the punishment, nothing else. There's no need to make fun of him, humiliate him, make memes and pictures out of him, or torture him, or abuse him. And this is honestly a big problem in today's world today. Like imagine, for example, today the king of a country captures the king of an enemy country. What would that person do with the king of the enemy country? Usually, they want to send a message to the world that this is what happens when you mess with us. So they start humiliating this person, torturing him, making him do some very, very humiliating things, abusing this person, when they can simply execute him. And khalas, this person is a criminal, they can simply execute him and leave him at that. And khalas, forget about that person. But this is what the Rasul is telling us. So even when it comes to handling a criminal, you do it with ihsan. And similarly, when it comes to slaughtering an animal, he says, when you want to slaughter an animal, we learn from many different hadith, you're supposed to use a sharp knife. And you're supposed to cover its eyes so that the animal doesn't see the knife. And you're supposed to escort the animal away from the other animals so that the other animals don't get scared. This is how you show mercy even to an animal being slaughtered. Subhanallah. And the point, by the way, the reason you use a sharp knife is so that you can instantly kill the animal without causing it pain. Because sometimes some people, they use a very dull knife. Like, I remember going last Eid, I went to the farm to slaughter for Eid. And subhanallah, we find like these concepts of ihsan when it comes to the animal, it's as if we've completely forgotten them. You find someone coming with a very dull knife that is not very sharp, or someone who's cutting very, very slowly, and the animal is like screaming and it's in pain, and they're like basically torturing the animal. Or they drag it by its feet in front of the other animals, and they don't care about covering its eyes. They just bring 5 different men to pin it down, and then they kill the animal in a brutal manner. So this is subhanallah. I know we're still, yeah, I know a lot of us, we're young, maybe you haven't done slaughtering with your own hands, but maybe you have gone to a farm before and you've seen maybe your parents or uncles or others who are doing the slaughtering and whatnot. But even in moments when you're doing slaughtering, you're expected to show ihsan to the animal. You're expected to show mercy to the animal. So even subhanallah, Islam cares about the rights and the treatment of animals. So this is the gist of the hadith. Ihsan is in everything. Any questions about the hadith? Yes. No, so subhanAllah, this is the miraculousness of it. So usually an animal by default is not scared. When you grab a goat or a sheep, it's not scared. But obviously you need to use a knife to kill the animal. So what they do is they hide the knife, they don't show the knife. And they escort the animal and they take its ear and they cover the eyes. Then they take the animal, then they take the knife. So the animal is very calm. And then they recite Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, they recite the name of Allah, and the animal completely calms down. And then they cut it with a knife without any effort. Super, super easy, very smoothly. But when people start to ignore all of these things, this is usually what causes accidents or causes a lot of pain to the animals, which is not correct. Question? So this hadith, inshallah, we'll share it with you on the group chat as usual. If you are not part of our WhatsApp group chat and you would like to receive these hadith and take part in the challenges, please let us know. So, what is the meaning of Al-Asr and why is Allah swearing by it? Yes? Exactly. The passage of time is Al-Asr, and he's swearing by it to emphasize how important the blessing of time is. What does إن الإنسان لفي خسر mean? None of the girls know. You guys forgot already when okay. Adam, mankind is in complete doom and loss. Surely mankind is at loss. What are the four conditions that are found in Surah Al-Asr that is required for a person to avoid that complete loss? All of you should have your hand raised, by the way. All of you. You guys all have Surah Al-Asr memorized. You guys should memorize these 4 points. Okay? Yes?
Everyone if you don't want to be around, then you have to listen to big family.
So we mentioned 4 things specifically. I want you to mention the 4 things. Yes? Uh-huh. So 4 things, very good. So having the correct belief in Allah, believing in Allah, performing good deeds from the Quran and Sunnah, sincerely to Allah. Number 3, advising one another to stick to the truth, to the Quran, to following the commands of Allah, to avoiding the haram, and to advise each other to be patient. Memorize these 4 points. They are very, 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 very important. Literally, like Imam Shafi'i said, out of the whole Quran, if this surah was revealed, it would have been enough for you. Why? Because you've been given the recipe for success. You've been given how you can be successful. Make sure you memorize these 4 points and remember them at all times. What are some lessons that we learned from Surah Al-Asr? You guys didn't learn anything from Surah Al-Asr. In the back, yes. So the value of time, very, very good. What else? Anyone has anything else? Yes? Okay, so again, the value of time. We mentioned the value of time. We mentioned that one of the biggest causes of regret will be that a person did not use their time wisely. So and also we mentioned the 4 points earlier. And also we mentioned success in Islam is not just an individual effort. It has to be a group effort. You have to care about the others who are around you as well if you want to be successful. What does the hadith mean when it says Allah has prescribed excellence in all things? Yes? Mhm. Very good, right? So the expectation as a Muslim, you have to have ihsan in everything, in every situation, no matter who you're talking to, no matter who you're dealing with, Islam in every situation. What was the example that the Rasul ﷺ gave in the hadith about ihsan? Um, yeah? Okay, so elaborate.
Like if you even encountering a criminal, you have to be like respectful and only be
Exactly. So ihsan is meant to be shown even when slaughtering an animal or even when punishing a criminal. So he mentioned in this case that ihsan is sharpening the knife when it comes to slaughtering the animal. What does it mean to show ihsan for someone who's volunteering, for example? Like again, think about the question of how can I have the most excellent attitude in any situation, right? Eva, put in their best effort, right? Show up on time, without any cheating or lying or messing around. What does it mean to show ihsan to the parents? Better all raise your hands. Huh? Some of your parents are in the back. Don't raise your hands. I don't know what's gonna happen at home. Uh, guys, someone else. Yalla, yalla. Someone other than these two. Say, how do you show excellence to your parents? What was it? Oh, I'm sorry. You forgot. Okay, the safe in the back. No, 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 don't look back. I'm talking to you. Yes, you. That's cool. That's fun. How do you show, like, yeah, how can you be the best child ever to your parents? Okay, listen to them, obey them, respect them, right? Speaking properly with them, right? Come on, guys, you're acting like this is the hardest question in the world. Come on, like, it's not that deep, okay? So, having ihsan, having excellence to in everything, just means how can I be the best person ever in a situation? That's simply it. Okay. Any questions for move on? Question in the back. What if what?
What if something like let's say you have
Here comes the what if.
die and then burn into ash and then it's thrown into the atmosphere? How does it get out?
As soon as you said, what if my brain disconnected with you? So because I knew this was going to be a not necessary and a not beneficial question, which will not help me at all if I know the answer to, right? As we learned from the previous day, huh? What if this, what if that? So Allah, you're too good at these what if questions. It's not good. Anyways, moving on. So, we were still talking about fasting, boys and girls, fasting in the month of Ramadan. This is really, really important because we need to know how to fast when it comes to the month of Ramadan. So we've covered several things so far. We've covered, fasting in general. We mentioned also the exceptions when it comes to fasting. When are you allowed to miss your fast and making up the fast and all of these things. We mentioned fasting during sickness. We mentioned fasting during traveling. We mentioned fasting during pregnancy and all of these different things. So now, what are the things that invalidate the fast? Such that if they are done, not a question, that if they are done, it will cause my fast to be broken and I will have to make up this day. Boys, please, it's very important. First and foremost, we all know this. Okay, this is easy, straightforward. Eating or drinking deliberately, meaning you know exactly what you're doing, and you're eating something, and you swallowed it. Okay, so this invalidates the fast because Allah Azza says this in the Quran, and eat and continue to eat and drink until the white thread of the dawn becomes distinct to you from the black thread of the night, meaning you can eat and drink at night, and then as soon as Fajr comes in, then complete the fast until sunset. So from Fajr to sunset, you're not allowed to eat. Okay? And anybody who eats deliberately has broken their fast. Now, this is common knowledge, but what about some of these more special cases? Like, for example, am I allowed to take a vaccination during fasting? And if I were to take a vaccination, does it break my fast? Well, the answer is it depends. Okay, so if you're taking, for example, the flu vaccine, which goes directly into your blood, that's fine. Okay, it doesn't, you don't become, it doesn't fill your stomach. Okay, it doesn't give you nutrition. Okay, by by getting the flu vaccine, so that is fine. But now let's say, okay, someone did surgery and they gave him, that IV drip, that sometimes there's like a tube connected to their hands or something like this, and it's something dripping from inside, that rectangular bag thingy, and there's like a liquid that is inside it. The point of that is so that the doctors can feed this person without actually having to feed them. So that tube is providing them with liquid that will go into their bodies and will give them nutrition. So it will keep them healthy. So obviously in this case, you can't be like, oh, but I didn't eat anything, so I'm still fasting. No. If that is what is being injected inside you, okay, then in that case it does not count. And that means the fast is broken. Same thing with, for example, eye drops. You put an eye drop and you're fasting. Does that break the fast? No, because the eye drop is going into your eye, not going into your stomach. Now, when it comes to inhalers, this is one of the more interesting ones. You know the inhalers, right? So someone has, they have this, and yeah, the asthma, and so they press this inhaler and they breathe in the gas that it releases, right? So a lot of scholars they discourage it. Okay, they discourage the use of inhalers if you can help it. So they say just if you can help it, just wait till Maghrib, then use your inhaler just to be on the safe side. But for the most part, they also all agree that if you use it while fasting, it's not going to invalidate the fast. So if you're someone who uses an inhaler, keep this in mind. If you can just wait till you use it after Maghrib, then that is the better choice. But if you really have to, you can use it, and inshallah, it does not break your fast. Okay? So, of the things that, also, this is usually the common scenario as well. What if someone accidentally ate or drank something? If this person really, truly, genuinely, truthfully, honestly, completely forgot, and they ate something or drank a sip of water, then their fasting is still valid. They are forgiven, and they can continue to fast that day, and they don't even have to make up the fast. Because of the hadith of the Rasul, this is an authentic hadith. Whoever forgets when he is fasting and starts eating or drinking, then let him complete his fast. Because it is Allah that has fed him and given him the drink. Meaning, that moment when you forgot and you ate and you drank, that is a gift from Allah to you. That Allah is allowing you to eat or drink, or He's not allowing you to eat or drink, but He allowed you in that one incident to eat or drink, and He's still accepting your fast. And He's telling you don't need to make a fast. So if that happens, no need to panic. The issue, of course, is you have to be honest with yourself, right? So you see, I don't know. Have you guys watched that? There's that one really popular video that went viral. The shawarma guy, right? Right? The guy who asks the sheikh a question. And then the sheikh, I slipped on the ground and the shawarma fell on my mouth. And then I don't know what happened. And an apple fell in my mouth as well. And then the bottle stripped and it poured water into my mouth. And then I had a whole feast. Is my fast accept? Do I have to redo my fast, or did Allah? Is this a gift from Allah? Okay, like come on, come on. Okay, so you gotta be serious with yourself. You gotta be honest with yourself. Okay. So and sometimes it happens where, for example, you genuinely forgot. Okay, and then you took something and you put it in your mouth, and maybe you started chewing it, and then as you're chewing, you're like, "Oh my God, I'm fasting." You're not allowed to swallow. Okay. If you put something in your mouth, you just completely forgot. You put something in your mouth. As you're chewing it, you didn't swallow it, you remembered. I'm fasting. That has to be spat out right away. Okay? You cannot swallow it. Otherwise, the fast is broken, because otherwise, that moment when you realize that I'm fasting, but you chose to swallow, now you deliberately ate. Right? So you cannot play or bend the rules here. Okay? As soon as you eat or you drink something and you know exactly what you're doing, no matter how dumb you try to act, it invalidates the fast. Otherwise, if you genuinely forgot, like let's say, I don't know, you are used to, I don't know, going to a certain water fountain at lunchtime at school, you drink from that water fountain and then you go sit with your friends. And then it was maybe the first day of Ramadan, second day of Ramadan, and you're fasting. It just completely crossed your, slipped your mind. So you left your class, and then in lunchtime you went and you drank at the water fountain, and then you swallowed and everything, and then 2 seconds later you're like, oh my God, what did I do? I just drank water. That's a case where we say, no, it's okay, right? You genuinely forgot. Okay, so again, you have to just be really, 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 really honest and truthful with yourself. Okay? There's no playing games in this regard. Okay? Of the things that invalidate the fast is someone who vomits deliberately. Okay? Vomiting deliberately. What about someone who vomits just, I don't know, maybe you ate something bad in suhoor and then you threw up in the morning. Does that invalidate the fast? We get the answer in the hadith here. Whoever is overwhelmed by the urge to vomit does not have to make up that day. Uh-huh. So if you threw up in the morning, okay, you just woke up, you had suhoor, you had like too many oily and heavy things in your suhoor, and you ate like an elephant, and then you went to sleep, and then you woke up in the morning, and you felt really, really sick, and then you couldn't control it, and you threw up. In that case, your fast is not broken. If it was out of your control. Now, if it is in your control, and you still cause yourself to vomit. So sometimes what some people do is they put their fingers in their throat, and they don't do it, by the way. You will literally throw. Don't do it for those of you who are trying to do it. You, like, some people, what they do is they shove their fingers in their throat, and that they causes them to throw up what's in their stomach. Okay, so this is not allowed. This was very fast. Or for example, yeah, I know this is disgusting, but again, this is the whole point of it, so that if you ever encounter the situation, may Allah protect us, but so that you know what to do. Sometimes a person may have leftover like vomit in their mouth. Okay? Okay? I don't know, sorry guys, I know it's disgusting, but we have to mention it. Okay? Even in that case, you have to spit it out. Because if you swallow it in that case, you've broken your fast. Okay? So it has to be okay. I hope you guys can get it. خلاص, we'll move on. I feel like some of you are about to vomit from just talking about this. Okay, so these are of the invalidators of fasting. Of the invalidators of fasting, we'll just say certain adult activities that are done between husband and wife. We'll leave it at that. You get it, you get it. You don't get it, you don't get it. Number 4, releasing many for men. I'm not going to explain what that is because I've already done it in the past. You know it, you know it, you don't know it, you don't know it. Last week we already spoke about menses for women. Okay, that invalidates the fasting, even if it's 5 minutes before Maghrib. Leaving Islam. Inshallah, may Allah protect us from ever falling into this. Right? But someone, let's say, who thinks they're being cool or funny, and they decide to leave Islam in a day in Ramadan. And then later in the day to re-accept Islam. Doesn't work that way. You've broken your fast, you've left Islam, you have to do sincere tawbah to Allah, and you have to make up that fast as well. Okay, so this is really, really a big deal. And the last one we will talk about, performing what we call hijama. Hijama. Have you guys heard of the word hijama? They have to have hijama. Wet cupping. This is kind of the icon, like this is what I could find in terms of the icon. It's a really, really healthy thing, by the way. It's really healthy for you. You will find like a lot of, for example, sports people or athletes. It's part of the sunnah as well, by the way, to do hijama. There is what we call the dry hijama or the wet hijama, or the dry cupping and the wet cupping. Do you guys know what cupping is, or you guys not know? Yes, some of us say yes, some of us no. So basically, cupping, just to explain it in like 5 seconds. They take what looks like a cup. That's why they call it cupping, and they suck the air. They put it, for example, against your back, or against your head, or against the back of your head, or in certain parts of your body, and they suck the air out of that cup, and that causes like a bump on your skin, like kind of like that one in the picture. And what it does is, subhanAllah, it draws out all of the bad blood in your body. So it's very healthy for you. Now, wet cupping is, of course, someone who is specialized with this. They will also like basically prick your skin and cause that that bad blood to come out as well. So you don't really feel like, okay, it's not like a scary thing, okay? It's you feel usually really, really good after, actually. You feel like really fresh, and your head is, cleared up, and you feel like even stress and your body ache is all gone and things like this. SubhanAllah, it's very, very healthy for you. But if you do it while fasting, then that will break the fast. Because the Rasul ﷺ says, the cupper and the one whom cupping is done, both of them have broken the fast. Okay? So, I don't know if you guys have ever done cupping or if you're going to do cupping anytime soon, but don't do it in Ramadan. Don't do it while you are fasting. Okay? I'll leave it at this because I know I'm going to get a bunch of what if questions from our creative people here. So, any questions? Any real questions? Yes. Very good question. I was expecting this one to come up. What about brushing your teeth? Boys, girls, what about brushing your teeth? I advise you to avoid brushing your teeth while you're fasting and to do it maybe after iftar or after suhoor. Okay? And not to do it during the fast for a couple of reasons. Number one, as our friend mentioned, there is the risk. If you swallow toothpaste, you swallow water, the fast is broken. It's just a big deal. Okay? So there's that one reason. And the second reason is actually it is more pleasing to Allah. You know that sometimes that nasty taste you have in your mouth at the end of the fast because you haven't eaten something for so long and it has like a nasty taste. That is more pleasant to Allah than anything else. The fact that you have that is a proof of your dedication and that is really beloved to Allah. And of course, when you brush your teeth, what happens? It removes that smell. It removes that odor. Okay? I'm not saying that, oh, have a bad mouth smell. That, well, no, I'm saying you can brush your teeth, but I recommend do it after iftar, do it after suhoor. Okay? Don't do it while you are fasting because it's risky, right? Sometimes you might end up swallowing something. Question? So the, brushing the teeth does not break the fast. It's the swallowing that you do that breaks the fast. And obviously, when you brush your teeth, you're gonna spit out the toothpaste, and you're gonna gargle your mouth, right? You're gonna put water in your mouth, and you're gonna spit it out. So that's the issue here, right? And even when you swallow something, can you really call this an accident when you could have avoided brushing your teeth until later? That's the issue here, right? So that's why I'm saying avoid it altogether. Okay. Question? Yeah.
And after you came back this time, but you said that they had to repay the fast. What if it was like multiple years later and they forgot about it? They get in trouble.
Now it depends on the case. Okay, it depends on the case. Like for example, a person could leave Islam, may Allah protect us, and then a few years later, he genuinely rediscovers Islam and genuinely re-enters into Islam, truthfully. In that case, we say that Islam deletes all of your previous sins. And thus you're restarting with a new plate now, with a new slate, and you continue on with your life. But someone who's doing that, like, just out of doubt or out of a joking or out of something like this is really dangerous, right? Yes, boys.
You don't like you don't like swallow it and but then after you still have water like
That is overall fine. Okay, so like let's say you didn't accidentally like you're brushing your teeth, boys. Let's say you're accidentally brushing your teeth and you didn't accidentally swallow any water and you did everything properly, but obviously you have to rinse your mouth. So no matter how much you try to spit out, there's always like a tiny droplet of water that's left in your mouth, right? That is okay. Okay, that is fine. Same thing, for example, like let's say after suhoor, you have some like I don't know, a piece of rice that is stuck in your tooth. Okay, and then a few hours later, it dislodged from your tooth and you ended up swallowing it. That's not breaking your fast. Okay, um, because these things, no matter how much you try to avoid them, they're just gonna happen anyways, right? Uh, yes. I'm sorry. Yes. Next to Alan, yes. Yes, question? Are you allowed to do what? Drink water while fasting? You should not do it. No. So as soon as you hear, you don't even need to wait for the mu'adhin to say Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. As soon as you see the mu'adhin say, you put down the food. Okay? You can finish whatever is in your mouth, but you put down the food. Khalas. Okay? No more eating, no more drinking. Question in the back, yes. This is very disliked. This is something, and inshallah, this does not break the fast, but it defeats the whole purpose of the fast, right? So it should not be done. Okay. Yes. Mouthwash, same idea. Whether it's toothpaste, mouthwash, yani, whatever it is. Even when it comes, for example, taking a shower, be very careful. You don't want to like, you know how sometimes you accidentally snort some water or like swallow some water sometimes in the shower accidentally? Well, make sure you're extra careful while you're fasting. If you do that, it will break the fast. Question? Yes.
Why don't you know? Then you put it out. And then it's like a bed, and then it's over.
If it's out of your control, it's out of your control. Okay. Like don't overthink it too much. Okay. Wudu is something you have to do when it comes to salah. And wudu, obviously gargling your mouth, you're expected to gargle your mouth, but the scholars they tell us when you're fasting, do it gently. And don't do it as crazily as you do it when you're not fasting. Do it gently, okay? And in this case, okay, you spat everything out, but a little bit of water remains. The same idea. Okay, it's out of your control. But that doesn't mean that, oh, I'm gonna go make wudu quickly. You know, my throat is a little bit dry. Let me, gargle here, spit most of the water, and then, oh, I swallowed the water, right? No, it doesn't make sense that way, right? It doesn't work that way. Now you're deliberately drinking, okay? So as long as you're doing your 100% to make sure that you're not consuming water, then you're fine. Even if you end up swallowing realistically, like a few droplets of water, okay? Yes. If it's a stupid question, you're banned from asking. You understand?
Let's say,
Oh, no.
what
Boys, listen up, listen up.
if accidentally drank water and then you remembered that you were fasting, okay? And then you accept it and keep on fasting, but then you keep on like making the same mistake. That's the real okay. No, but you keep on forgetting.
You keep forgetting. What kind of memory is that? In that case, that's a completely different case. If someone has a real like problem in their memory, like a health problem, that's a different issue. But a regular person, no, he's not gonna forget more than once, right? And this is like a once in a while thing that happens. If it's happening every single day and 5 times a day, then this is an issue, right? Once in breakfast, once in lunch, once in dinner time, you're forgetting. SubhanAllah, what kind of crazy memory is that? Uh, one more thing.
See how I said let's say instead of what if?
Okay, you're banned from asking questions. Okay, question. Boys, listen up, listen up. Boys, listen up, please. Okay, someone's gonna get kicked out. Thank you.
No, it's that parents say that like you like to half day or half day.
Yes.
Are you allowed to do it or?
Yes. Yes. Because remember, we mentioned, so the question was, okay, what about like, if someone's in elementary school or maybe they have a younger sibling and the parents tell them like, okay, you can fast till Dhuhr, right? Is this allowed? The answer is yes. Why? Because they're not obligated to fast. Okay? So someone in elementary has not hit the age of puberty, so fasting is not even obligated for them. But the parents, what they're recommended to do is they can start training them to fast. But they don't give them the whole day because sometimes for a young kid, a whole day is a little bit too tough. So sometimes they tell them, our parents, a lot of our parents did it for us when we were children. You would fast until like Dhuhr, you'd fast maybe until Asr. And then when you became an actual, teenager whom you have and became obligated upon you, you would fast until Maghrib. Question?
But if parents like you fast like
Well, you're a Muslim, right? You tell mom and dad that please, I'm a Muslim and I would like to fast in Ramadan. Okay, so this is the only situation where a Muslim is allowed to disobey mom and dad is if they command you to do something that disobeys Allah. So obviously fasting in Ramadan is an obligation. But if mom and dad now come and say, we don't want you to fast because we're going to this person's house or because of whatever. In this case, we're like, sorry, mom and dad, I love you, but I have to obey Allah. Okay, so we have to fast the month of Ramadan if the conditions of fasting apply to us. Eva, yes? No. So boys, so in that case, so okay, that's a good question. Someone who, for example, while they're fasting, they're lying, or they're cheating, or they're swearing, or they're doing bad things which are haram. That doesn't necessarily invalidate the fast. Okay? So we don't say that, oh, this person's fast is invalid, but this person is not getting the benefit of the fast. Okay? So now they're doing many wrong things because fasting, first of all, is supposed to train you to stop committing certain sins and bad habits. And number two, it's the holy month of Ramadan. It's a time of blessing, a time of where the angels come down and things like that. So it is really, really disliked, much more disliked in Ramadan for a person to do a certain sin in comparison to other times. Okay, I'll take two more questions. Yes, in the back. Okay, guys in the back, I want you to leave, please. Us. Too much noises, too much talking, too much interruptions. Please. Go, all of you in the back. Those of you who are doing that, making those noises, I already kicked you out. I don't know why you're back inside the room. Okay, and those who are next to him as well, I want you to please leave. Yes, sorry. Save that question till next week because I don't want to take too much time. Okay, but that will be the topic of next week. How exactly are fasts made up, and what is the compensation, or is there something special that I have to do when it comes to making up the fast? Last question, yes.
um like snowing a lot and like snow gets in your mouth.
Well, as long as you're not doing it deliberately, then inshallah, we hope that that snowflake will not break your fast. Anyways, guys, I know some of you have more questions. You can feel free to ask them after the class. I want to wrap up pretty soon before about it, inshallah. So we'll go back and continue. Okay, boys, those of you who have wrappers in their hands, please just stop moving. So last week or 2 weeks ago, sorry, we concluded the Battle of Uhud, but that was not. Allahu Akbar. Adhan already, subhanallah. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
So let's inshallah wrap up quickly because we have less than 10 minutes left. So last week or last time we concluded the Battle of Uhud, but things did not necessarily end there because the threat is still very, very close. We mentioned Abu Sufyan returned back to the Quraysh. But who knows what the plan of Abu Sufyan was? What if his plan was to go back to the Quraysh and then they will attack Medina again? What if they do that? What if they don't actually go back to Mecca? So the Rasul ﷺ, he was smart and he assigned Ali bin Abi Talib radiallahu anhu, and he said, I want you to go by yourself because he didn't want to be detected. Only go by yourself and try to see where the Quraysh are. Try to find out what they're doing. And he gave them a really smart strategy. And he told him, look at what kind of animal that they are riding. If they are riding their camels and leaving their horses, they're not riding their horses, it means that they're going back to Mecca. Because you don't typically travel with a horse, you travel more with a camel. But if you see them riding their horses instead of riding their camels, then this means that they're coming to attack Medina again. So Ali ibn Abi Talib, he went and he traveled for a distance, and eventually he ran into the Quraysh from a distance, and he saw that they were riding their camels and they were not riding their horses. So he knew that they were returning back to Mecca and that they were not going to fight again. So once all that took place, the Muslims then shifted their focus. At this point, those who are injured have been treated and whatnot. But now there are the dead bodies of the Muslims who were martyred in the battlefield. So a lot of the hadith that we have heard about before, maybe about the shuhada and the martyrs, it comes from here, from the battle of Uhud. Boys, if you don't want to listen, please by all means go upstairs. Please stop giving me a headache. So the Rasul ﷺ, he stood up and he wanted to motivate the Muslims, and he told the Muslims that I shall be a witness to all of these martyrs on the day of judgment, meaning I shall come in front of Allah and I shall intercede for them and I shall ask Allah to forgive all their sins and bring them into Jannah. And then he made a dua, he made a long dua for them. That dua is recorded, but we're not going to mention it now. He made a long dua for Allah to forgive their sins and to have mercy on them and to grant them victory over their enemies. And there was no janazah. This is a very important detail, boys. There was no janazah that took place for the martyrs, the shuhada, that were killed in the battlefield, in the Battle of Uhud. Rather, what they did is they dug the grave and they buried them in as soon, without even doing anything. Okay, without washing them, without doing any of the regular procedure, they were buried right where they died. And subhanAllah, to this day, by the way, you can visit Medina, you can visit Uhud, and next to it, you will find that there is something called the graveyard of the martyrs, the graveyard of the shuhada. Inside it, you will see the graves of the martyrs who were killed in the Battle of Uhud. There is also a famous hadith where the Rasul says that there is nobody who is harmed in the cause of Allah, like while they are fighting for the sake of Allah, except that they will come on the day of judgment with their wounds still fresh, like these martyrs who got killed and stabbed and cut and whatnot. They will come on the day of judgment, their wounds are still visible, they're still fresh, and they have the color of blood in them, and they're still dripping, but they're gonna have a good smell coming out of them. They will have the fragrance of misk, so that people can tell on the day of judgment that these are special kind of people. They're not just your average person who died, rather they are martyrs who got killed in the battlefield, and Allah Azza wa Jalla is honoring them among all of mankind in this manner before He honors them in Jannah. And subhanAllah, we're told about the martyrs. This is something we find in the books mentioned by some of the scholars, that we were told by the Rasul that the souls of those martyrs, so beautiful, subhanAllah. And keep this in mind based on what's happening in today's world in Gaza and in other places in the world. He mentions that the souls of these martyrs in the Battle of Uhud, their souls were placed into the bodies of small green birds, and that they are flying. Like he was telling the Muslims, don't think that they're dead. They're right now flying around in Jannah. And they're flying underneath the throne of Allah, and they're flying to the trees and eating from the fruits, and they're flying to the rivers and drinking from the water. And they're enjoying this so much so that we are told that these Muslims, these martyrs, as they're enjoying Jannah, they spoke to Allah and they said, Ya Allah, who's gonna tell our brothers who are still alive about how much we're being blessed, about how much we're being rewarded? If only they could know. How could we possibly tell them? Is there anyone who can come and tell them? So Allah says, I shall tell them. And so Allah reveals a beautiful verse in Surah Al-Imran. And He says, وَلَا تَحْسَبَنَّ الَّذِينَ قُتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ أَمْوَاتًا. Don't think that those who were killed in this, in the cause of Allah, don't think that they are dead. The people of Gaza today were being bombed and killed and slaughtered in Gaza and in Sudan and other places around the world. Don't think that they are dead. Allah's saying, no, they are alive right now as we speak. And they are happy with what Allah Azza wa Jalla has given them. And they're giving glad tidings to those who have still not yet caught up to them. Meaning they're still waiting for their relatives who are still alive to catch up to them so they can reap the same type of reward. We'll mention quickly one more slide and then we'll head upstairs inshallah for the salah. We are told that the Muslims were very, very poor. Their conditions were not very good, and they had little material to use as a shroud to cover the dead people. So we're told, for example, the body of Hamza bin Abd al-Muttalib, there was 2 shrouds were brought for him, but then there was a nearby Muslim who did not have any shroud on him. So they had to literally give 1 shroud only. Typically, you give 3 shrouds to a person. Typically, you give 3 shrouds, but they only had to live with, or have to, get by with 1 shroud only. We're told Mus'ab bin Umayr, for example, his shroud was so short. If they covered his upper body, his lower body would show. If they covered his lower body, his upper body would show. So they asked Rasulullah, what should we do? So they said, cover his upper body, cover his head, and as for the lower body, take some idkhir, take some plants, and cover his body with the rest of that shroud. So we learn from this basically the Sahaba were not living in luxury or anything like this. They were struggling to find even some shrouds, and even multiple people had to be buried in a singular grave. Multiple people had to be buried in a singular grave, and sometimes they had to share the same shroud. Subhanallah, because of how desperate their conditions were. So unfortunately, we are out of time right now. So we will just stop here for today's lecture, inshallah, and we will continue.